Reverend Waller and Bishop Campbell. I'm sorry, Bishop Campbell, Walker, Waller, and Campbell.
Yes.
People I've known for many, many years,
yes.
and yet and still, when it comes time, the crunch time, I hesitate. And we're sorry about that. But really, I think what we'd like to talk about today is something that all three of us, three of you and myself, have been involved with over the many, many years. And Pastor Walker, especially you, I think that we've depended upon you primarily to contact many individuals to bring them to this show. And so in a real sense, let's start off with you by having you to take a couple of minutes to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences. Then we'll allow Reverend Waller to do the same in reference to his background, education, and experience. And finally, we'll come to Bishop Campbell, and we'll allow him to sort of close us out on that first 6-minute segment. And then we'll come back, and in that 8-minute segment, we'll start with Bishop Campbell, and then come on back around and do it like that. And I think that that will be quite instructive in terms of what we're trying to do. Let's start off with you, Pastor Walker.
Well, I'm Pastor KWalker. I'm the senior servant of the Hands of God Christian Church located out here at 1545 11th Avenue North. And Dr. Haney, we've done quite a few shows together, and I'm always excited and delighted to be in your presence and to be able to bring, individuals on your show that I know have some good information and knowledge as well. I'm a native Nashvilleian. I attended the public school systems here in Tennessee, here in Nashville, up until a point where I got put out. I got put out of, excuse me, I got put out of all of the Davidson County public schools, and I was not able to attend any schools in the city when I hit the 10th grade. Fortunately for me, I had gotten in some trouble as well and faced some time in juvenile, and the juvenile court judge, Richard Jenkins at the time, thought it would be best if I went into the military than it would if I went in and became incarcerated. I had shot an individual when I was 15 years old, and went into the Navy. Stayed in the Navy about 19 months, long enough to get my foot wet, ride the ship overseas and stuff like that. Got out of the Navy, and at that time, you could go in the military without a GED, got out, or high school diploma, got out, went through Opportunities Industrialization Center, OIC, when I was in South Nashville, got a GED, spent a little time at Tennessee State University, but all during that time, Dr. Haney, even prior to going in, I was always experiencing with drugs and stuff, and actually was addicted to drugs, even when I was in college. I was shooting heroin and stuff like that. And of course, that eventually derailed my attempts at a college degree, wanted to become a fashion designer, and that derailed that. And of course, I ended up incarcerated in the state prison system, did a total of 5 years of my life incarcerated. And in August of 1986, August 24th, 1986, God stepped into my life, intervened in a powerful way. He called me into ministry, called me away from a 17+ year drug addiction directly into ministry, and I've been serving him ever since.
But Reverend Waller, talk about yourself for a minute.
Dr. Haney, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here. I am really grateful, man. I came from the streets in which I grew up at in West Nashville on 40th. As a little boy growing up, I loved the basketball. And in the midst of loving the basketball, out in the yard playing by myself, I got captured by the street life. And in the midst of all of that, I got incarcerated in street life for 20+ years of my life without being behind bars. Captured in my own community by a chemical that controlled my life for so many years. I went to Cone High School, and a lot of people thought I was going to become a great basketball player, but I didn't even know who I was. I was so out of control. But again, as Pastor KWalker invited me, as he shared on how he was released from the bondage, and now I've been delivered myself for 24+ years. And it's amazing that there's so many people that are still doing the same thing that we used to do. And I'm just grateful to be here to make a difference.
Now, Bishop Campbell, we have a minute for you to sort of make some statements, and then we'll come back to you during the second segment and start with you. But say who you are over the last minute that we have here.
Yes.
Bishop Campbell, and then we'll come back to you.
I also want to thank you, Dr. Haney, for allowing me to be here. My name is Bishop Marcus Campbell. I'm the pastor of the Mount Carmel Missionary Baptist Church located at 1032 Monroe Street, and founder and CEO of the Gentleman and Not Gangster Juvenile Mentoring Program that we have here in Nashville, Tennessee.
And so quite a bit has been done in reference to that particular program, and I think that the three of you bring some excellent information in reference to how we might be able to deal with some of the challenges that are facing our young people today. And so we're going to take our first commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Information for the next 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, you know, just lay down some information dealing with this particular issue. Then you follow him and take about 2 or 3 minutes of that, and then we'll let you sort of wrap this second segment out for today, and then we'll come back and we'll go back down and we'll have 10 minutes to sort of bring all of this information together. But the information I think that we're getting today is very, very important information, because I think this, and that's why we like to do this background information, just to indicate that no matter what a man's situation might be today, that it was not always like that, you see, and I think that's an encouragement, and you ought to hear my story.
Oh my!
You ought to hear my story. I was a military brat in a real sense, with my father overseas, and he was an Air Force person and whatever. My family, my mother and everybody was there, and I was 18 years old in Paris, France.
Running wild.
Running wild.
Young man.
Running wild.
Yes, sir.
And so
in
God
Paris.
saved me too. We've all got those stories.
Oh, yeah.
I think that when we own up to them, then we can move forward.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That's so true.
And so when we come back, Bishop, we'll start with you, and then Waller, and then on down. And this will be our 8-minute segment.
All right.
Is this the 8-minute segment? Yeah, this is the 8-minute segment.
That's all right.
Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. The topic is the dilemma of the African-American male, and we're fortunate to have with us Pastor KWalker, Reverend Waller, and Bishop Campbell. And of course, Bishop Campbell, I think the end of the first segment, we got a little information from you, but what I'd like for you to do during the second segment is to take some time to talk about some of the challenges that you think that our young people are facing, and how you would like to see some of these things resolved. And then Reverend Waller will have an opportunity, and then Pastor Walker, and we'll be able to sort of cover the 8 minutes of this particular segment.
Yes, sir. Dr. Haney, dealing with the organization that we have, Gentlemen and Not Gangsters, dealing with the juveniles that do come through the program, one thing that we do notice is that we have an economic dilemma. Not only that, we have an educational dilemma, and we have a personal dilemma. The economic dilemma is that mom and daddy might be incarcerated or have been incarcerated. It's hard for them to get a job and provide for their family with those felonies on their background. Juveniles are not able to have any employment because of their age, or they're just not jobs that's willing to give them a chance or to try them out. When we look at the economics, most in the black community, not many of them is making more than minimum wage because of the educational background of where they don't have a great education. When we look at a lot of schools in our black community, especially here in Nashville, their test scores are so much lower than schools that are outside of the demographic of where we live at in the poverty places in Nashville that we are. And the personal issue that I see is that because of the parents and what they are accustomed to, what they have been taught, what they have gone through in their lives, they're teaching their kids the same thing. So they're just prone to what they've been taught, what they see, their environment, and it's causing a dilemma with our black males because they're becoming what their environment is. And I just believe if we had a better economical system for our black community with great educational background there to support them to be able to get their economical ways together, I think the personal problem with the parenting and the child would be totally different. But that's what we deal with a lot of times. We find that the parents are not as involved and engaged in their life as they should be. We care more for the kids than they do. They drop them off at the front door, they leave them. They don't come inside to see what the program is about. A lot of times they might not even drop them off. They give them a little bit of bus fare and tell them to get there the best way they can. So I think there's a big overall picture that we can't just key in on one point dealing with the dilemma with our young black males in America.
You know, Bishop Campbell, what I'd like to understand, and perhaps you might be able to give us some information in reference to this, do you think it would be cost effective for our governmental officials to provide our young men and women with some kind of employment instead of simply refusing to do anything in that direction? Do you think that would help us out?
It would help us greatly. You know, being in the faith-based community, we have a saying of what we say is the idle mind is the devil's workshop. And I believe that these young teenagers, our juveniles, had an opportunity of employment, that it would teach them leadership, teach them responsibility, give them a great reference, a great start in their life, to show them that you have to work for what you want and not go out and take it from somebody else or selling to destroy somebody else's life to be able to benefit your own pocket.
What about you, Brother Waller?
Dr. Haney, what I know about the youth and people as a whole in our community, it's a trap. And what happens when a trap is set for you, you don't see the trap. And once you're captured into the trap, such as I was, I didn't even know I was in a trap because the things that I was trapped in was attractive. So we have to be mindful of what we do in front of others. People were doing things that had my attention, and it caused me to desire to be into what they were doing. And after doing so, and then got captured, it was like, this is a wonderful thing. I'm getting high, I'm getting money, I understand the language, but it's one thing that I didn't know, and that is that the trap was so powerful that once you get in it, there's an enemy, and you have to do his will. And I was that person that came to my senses, as the Word of God says, after you had come to your senses and escaped the snare, the trap of the devil, having been taken captive by him to do his will. So once a person is trapped, they're going to do his will. Now, what we have to do is bring forth great information that's so powerful that they would miss the trap. Now, after I was released from the bondage that I was in, I was told to go back to my community in which I had made so effective in the unrighteous path that people followed me, admired what I was doing, but I was in a trap. So I called so many people to be in the trap with me, and he's sending me right back out there to get the people that's still out there out of the trap. And that's my responsibility. And I've written a book that's entitled Still High, one of the greatest books that I think that could help our communities and get people back into the swing of what we really need. And that's my desire, and that's why I'm out in the streets. New Way Outreach Ministry is a ministry that reaches out. Don't be inside of the building. I'm outside where the people are that's hurting, that's crying for help. And my encouragement to the people that's in the church, come out of the building. You never know the importance
and
of that.
so the idea of the book, Still High,
Yeah.
is to indicate that you are still high, but you're high on something outside of what you were generally high on, and the experience is greater,
Much greater,
with being still high than it was during the earlier parts of your situation. Is that what you're saying in
That's what
reference
I'm
to that?
saying, and it don't cost you a dime to keep this high once you learn about it. And it has so much information that the same enemy that captured me don't want nobody to get this book. This book been out since 2013, and I believe Nashville should be flooded with the book. If you want to see a difference, you never know until you try it.
And I think some of the problems that we're talking about here are not problems that are limited in terms of the African-American experience and the African-American male, because in a real sense, getting high in the other sense is a national problem now, which is to say that more people are dying of cocaine and et cetera than in automobile accidents and et cetera. And so I think what you have there as a book is something that is very, very valuable and needed in terms of the kind of situations that we find, not African-American males, but African-Americans, other groups, and all of them find the same problems, the same challenges, and et cetera. And so what we're going to do, Reverend Walker, we're going to take this second commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start with you doing this last 10-minute segment and then go down. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. If they see things, they need a job, they need to have some money. Yeah. And if you had some way of knowing on Saturday you're going to get $55 or $60 or whatever, you could do something with that.
Right.
That's true. But it's hard telling the teenagers, drop your gang flag, put the dope down, if you can't give them means to be able to provide. You know, it's hard to do.
And that's hard enough for me to understand that our leaders and state legislature folks can't seem to understand that it's much more cost effective to do it that way. Than, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing how they go.
Well, anyway, Reverend, we're going to start with you when we come back during this second segment. We'll have 10 minutes, and then you take about 3 minutes of it, and you take about 3 minutes of it, then we'll do the last couple of minutes, and then end it out for the day. But this is exactly, I think that this is this kind of information is people need to know this. I think people know it, but it needs somebody to come to pull it all together and make them understand that.
That's what it's about.
Just so many lives are simply being disrupted and destroyed in terms of what we're doing here.
It really is. It definitely.
And so, Pastor, we'll start with you. All right. Know what we're doing. Just pick it up and deal with what we'll take about 3 or 4 minutes. So, Wallace,
it's going to be.
Let the bishop close us out.
All right.
That what we'll put together.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be great. 30 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, I like this show. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Pastor Walker, Reverend Waller, and Bishop Campbell. Reverend Campbell.
Yeah, that's all right.
Hey, I'm a pastor here, I'm a reverend there, and I'm a bishop down there. By the time I get to the bishop, I forget who the bishop is. Next time, Bishop, I'll start with you. But let us start off, Pastor Walker, really by making some comments in reference to the topic that we're trying to deal with today. And I think all of us understand the tenor and the purpose of what we're trying to do here. And let's speak from that perspective.
You know, Dr. Haney, one of the things that Bishop Campbell touched on, and that you also offered some feedback into, we talked about the economics of it all. You know, we talk about one of the common denominators where people are that deals with the violence and the gang involvement, the drug selling, the robbing. It's all about economics. It's all about money. We live in America, the land of opportunity, a capitalistic society. Where money is the voice. Money speaks. Money gets things done. You know, money is right up there with oxygen. You got to have it to survive and live. And I think what's happening is that we know money is needed. We say we go to our youth or young men and you know, we want to talk to them about, you know, getting a job, and at the same time, what we're doing, we're asked, because you said something about the government, you know, doing something. Well, the government has done what the government's going to do. And that is, they took away the stuff. You know, they began to take away those things that worked. You know, the government took away the ability for a young black man to go into the military without having a high school diploma or graduating high school. That was a safety net that kept us out of the school to prison pipeline. You know, we had an option right there to go into the military. You could drop out of school, and a lot of us grew up with the idea and thought in our head we drop out of school and go to the military. But now you can't do that either. So, you know, then, you know, you got the summer program that they took away, the community centers that they took away, and, you know, and we look at all the stuff, the feeding, you know, youth in the park, all that kind of stuff that the government provided and began to take away. And then Bush with this faith-based initiative stuff, which is just another mechanism to control folks. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is this. I don't think it's logical for anybody that's really out here trying to help the youth try to build our community or help restructure some things. I don't think it's logical to believe that the government's going to give us something that they're taking away. You know, why would we think that the government, you know, is going to give us some money to help us when the government is the one taking the money away from us that was helping us? So what we have to do, we're going to have to create our own. You know what I'm saying? If we want to provide jobs, we're going to have to create the monies ourselves and provide the jobs ourselves. Otherwise, won't no jobs be provided. We'll still be trying to get a 501c3, still begging the government for this, still begging this private foundation for that. And then if they give you the money, then you're starting to make a difference. They start seeing lives change, they start seeing growth and stuff and development and stuff like that. Then the next time you apply, submit for that grant, they're not going to give you the money because they don't want to see you succeed. But now if you're not doing anything, you're not producing no results, but you're just looking good on paper, they'll keep on giving you money. You know what I'm saying? But if you're showing some positive results and you really impacting the lives of these people, they're going to pull that money back because they don't want it to happen. You got the privatization of the prison system here going on, and they asking the states to guarantee me 90% occupancy, and you think the state going to give you some money to mess up that contract they got? No, they're not going to do that. So if we're going to do something, then we got to create our own monies, and we got to come together. You know, if you want to change a community, you got to buy it. You got to go in and buy it. You see it happening all over town. 12th South used to be 12th Avenue South. When folks went in there and bought it, they turned it into 12th South. I mean, we could do the same thing if enough people would just come together and pool resources. You know, there's industries out here. If I stand in a room full of young black males that's selling dope, I'm not going to go in there talking to them about go get you a job because these are entrepreneurs. I need to talk to them about
their job. Yeah, that's the only job that they find available, and that's the job that they work.
And that's it. They're entrepreneurs at heart. So you got to talk to them about entrepreneurship. You got to show me a way I can make some money. You know what I'm saying? Some real money out here. Show me how I can own my own business and how I can employ some people myself. That's what we have to do, and stop begging the government for stuff that their government ain't trying to give us.
Brother Waller.
Dr. Haney, what I like about an opportunity to reach out is that the gift that we have, a lot of us have gifts and don't really know how to exercise it. And when we do and get captured, we can no longer pursue it. That happened to me. So I have a chapter in my book called Forsaken Talent. And then after that, the chapter next to it is called Out of Control. And if you don't mind, I'll give you a little reading of it, just a little dab. Out of control. This is what used to happen to me years ago before I ever thought about it in book writing. I can remember people asking me, Ricky, what college are you going to? Or who is recruiting you? My answer was always the same. College. Why would I go to someone's college and take a chance on breaking my ankle? I am making more money now than I would going to somebody's college. That's how I used to talk back then. And I said, how